Hi and welcome to Easy Fishing. In this episode I'm going to be tackling a river with the whip. Now I suspect that today will be very difficult. The river is crystal clear. I can see the bottom right down to about 6 feet. There is bright sunshine and there are a succession of rowers. But we shall crack on and do our best. Now, because the river is so clear, I do have my normal 3-metre whip, which is this one here. Now I've got this set up to fish shallow using small baits, pinkies. But because of the difficult conditions, I've had to bring other whips. So this is what I've brought. I have another cheap 4-metre whip. In my opinion, 4 metres is the maximum length you can have a cheaper glass fibre whip out. After that, they get very heavy and clumsy. This one's set to fish at full depth with a variety of baits. I shall start off with bread punch, feeding liquidised bread, and take it from there. I have some maggots and pinkies as well. I also have a bait we haven't used before, and I'll now show you what this is. Today I've brought along a tin of hemp seed, just a small tin, £2.20, enough for at least 2 sessions, unless it goes mad and I catch tons of fish. And for hook baits, I have some ready prepared tears. Now a tear is like a giant hemp seed, dark in colour, and they can be deadly for roach. Not always, but they can be absolutely deadly, especially on this river. So the only other thing I brought with me is a cheap 6-metre whip. Now 6-metre whips are available in glass fibre, but in my opinion they are far too heavy to hold for any length of time. This was a carbon whip. Now it says it's high modulus carbon. Well, I'm afraid I don't believe it. It's quite low modulus carbon. It was £29 off eBay. It came, amazingly enough, with a ready fitted Stomfo connector. The only trouble is the Stomfo connector's not a very good one, and it's a bit loose, the sleeve. So I've had to change that. So we should be trying this further out using hemp seed and tears over a couple of balls of ground bait. So the ground bait I have is just a small quantity of dark ground bait mixed, so it just holds together and gets to the bottom. At 6 metres we're about 9 foot or 10 foot of water. So what I intend to do is to feed probably 2 balls about the size of a small orange. So I'm using the tip of the pole as a marker. I'm now going to throw those in. So I'll just make the balls. I'm adding no free offerings in with them, and this is merely to prime the swim for when I go out onto it. I suspect that it's going to be extremely difficult today with clear water, blue skies, downstream wind and a lot of rowers, but we shall see. So, picking up the long whip, hold it as you would to fish, and throw the balls of ground bait as accurately as you can, right underneath the pole tip, the first one. The second one went a little to the right to enable me to run the rig over it. But I won't be fishing that for a good hour. In fact, thinking about this, because I'm going to leave it for so long, I'm going to make another ball. This one I'm going to squeeze a little bit less so it breaks up quicker. So here goes. Right on target. Now I shall leave that line alone and I won't fish it. So I'm going to kick off using a 4-metre whip with bread punch. So I do have my favourite Stay Fresh this time. I bought a loaf, put it in a freezer, and I've brought 3 or 4 slices along that are thawed out now, ready to go, and a quantity in a small bucket bait tub of just liquidised bread. Take a slice out, put it in the bread box. One person commented on one of my videos, why have a bread box? Well, as I pointed out in the video, keeps the bread fresh. So we are good to go. Now I'm going to kick off. I found my Drennan large punches, so I'm going to kick off with a big punch of bread. Now the larger punches go from 7.5 millimeters up to 11. Well, I'm going to go mad. I'm going to start off with a 10 millimeter punch. I won't fish it for very long, same as on the canal, but I want to see if there's any fish. So here we go. Just wet the crumb very slightly so it's quite dry. Dip my hand in a bucket of water. I always have a tub of water handy, and just dampen it. I'm not going to over wet it, I just want it to be damp. Work my fingers all the way round, bread sticking to my fingers. Going to start off with a small ball about the size of a walnut. So pick up the whip. I'm not baiting up yet, I'm just going to swing it out and use it as a marker. So I'm almost going to be fishing under the rod tip. And there we have it, the bread is in. Now, let's get a piece of punch on the hook and see how we get on. When the river is clear like this, bread punch can sometimes be the only bait that will work other than hemp seed. And the thing with hemp seed is it takes a while to work. There we go, quite a substantial bait, but there's a very good chance that I could hook a bigger fish here. Just drop it in over the feed and hold it. The river's not fast flowing, just steady. Now it is so clear I can see the punch sinking down through the water. It's just now it's damp, let's just drop it in again. And I can see it wafting down the till it's a good, well, I can still see it now, it's going to be a good 4 feet down. Still see it. It's got to be 6 foot down now and I can still see it. So that's how clear it is. Now I'm going to take out the other punch I'm going to use, which is probably going to be about 7mm. I will swap punch sizes to see how we get on, but because I missed that bite, I want to check whether these are small fish. So punch of bread, shut the box, hook it through the slot in the side, and we're good to go. Right. Swing it out, drop it in where I fed the bait. Now with a river, it's not like the canal. You will have to feed more often. So what I shall probably be doing is introducing small quantities on a regular basis. Sometimes it can pay to just dump a big pot of bait in and fish it out till the bites stop. But the river's so clear, I think the fish are going to be really wary. Just let it run very slowly through the swim. I'm having to fish off the bottom above the weeds because there seems to be a good 18 inches of weed out there, and not more in places. Just a thumbnail sized piece of crumb. It's awesome watching it in this clear water. And that was definitely a bite. And here we go. Looks like a nice roach. Oh, and it is. Do I need a net? No, I'm going to risk swinging it. Now, how about that? That is bread punch at its best. At least I can find the disgorger this time. Well, that was a promising start. Let's hope it continues. So, swing the rig out. Small piece of crumb of bread. Now, because the roach are here and obviously there will take the bread, I might well loose feed some hemp over the top of them, but I don't want to upset the line further out. I don't wish to split the roach up. If they're here, I'll happily catch them. There's a lot of weed in the river. I think I've caught, oh, I don't know, was that a bite? There's so many loose strands of weed, and right in front of me there's a big patch of underwater lilies that we call cabbages, usually home to a few resident perch. And with the perch in mind, as a backup bait, I've just got a very small quantity of worms, just enough to try one on the hook from time to time. And sometimes bread is such an incredible bait on here, and in other places as well, that sometimes it will be the only bait the fish will take. I've fished here before using maggots exactly like this and casters, and you'd think the swim was devoid of fish, but they're there. They're just a little bit cautious. So here we go. The one thing you mustn't do when there's a downstream wind like today and it's quite strong is let it push the float faster than the flow of the river. The roach will ignore the bait completely if it does that. It's got to ease it down, and with a fiberglass whip it's hard work. This is where carbon whips come into their own. So much weed down there. I think I'm going to shallow up just a little bit. I seem to be catching the weed at the bottom of my swim. Ideally, I'd like to fish the bait the same as I did on the canal, about 1 centimetre off bottom. But since there's like 1/2 metre of weed, I don't think that's going to happen today. Very tricky in conditions like this. But there we have it. Another quality roach. Well, I'm now starting to put together a succession of nice roach. It's not frantic, but it's steady, and I've just had a dace, which on this slower stretch of river there are some in here, but not in any great numbers. So I'm just going to persevere. The only thing I'm wondering is whether I've brought enough liquidised bread with me. I seem to be going through a fair amount of it, which would be disastrous if I run out. Stick to the same routine as you did on the canal. Small quantities regularly. Don't throw in big handfuls of bread. Also, when the wind blows, I can't get a bite because it pushes the float around and makes the bait look unnatural. That's something else I've noticed. Oh, and another one. I'm risking swinging these. I shouldn't really, but look at these. Look at that. Sometimes the bites aren't even taking the float under. It's almost as if it's caught on the weed. So I'm striking at everything that even looks like it might be a bite. I'm not waiting till they take the float under, because most of these have not. I'm also letting the float run down a fair way, because sometimes in this clear water the roach can hang back off the bait, especially the bigger fish. Quite why the rowers sometimes come so close they'll actually hit my keep net. Why, I've no idea. Traditionally on this stretch there's always been a fair amount of animosity between rowers and fishermen, basically because the rowers sometimes just don't care. Not all of them, I will be honest, but there's a fair succession of them act as if it's their river and their river only, which is a shame, but there you go. That's people. Let's just keep trying. I have to say, in conditions like this with a nasty wind, the pole would be a better proposition, and that is when you should think about changing from the whip to the pole, because it's all about presentation, and it is difficult with a downstream wind to get good presentation on the whip. But I'm acting as if I'm a beginner who only has a whip. So, let's keep going. But for me, I find the challenge of natural venues much more enticing, I think would be the right word, than constantly fishing commercials, which I do fish a fair amount. But I was brought up on natural venues, and natural venues are what I like. I like not knowing what I might catch next. I also like not knowing what the size of the fish are. And for me, catching a few pounds of roach in tricky conditions like these is a challenge, and I enjoy it. Keeps me coming. I've been coming to this river for over 30 years now. Another nice roach. So, I've been fishing for a couple of hours. You can see the bright sunlight on me. It's a beautiful day, but a combination of bright sunlight and clear river and about 2,000 boats, not made for easy fishing. But I've caught a few fish, all roach, all on the bread. I did try tears on the hook, got a couple of bites, but that's it. So, not a great catch, but a very enjoyable day. So, I will no doubt catch up with you soon when I'll try again on the river, and hopefully have a decent net of fish to show you in better conditions. So thanks for watching, catch you all later. Bye for now.